You're listening to the 3 Feet Radio Show with Ben Carbonaro and Luke Herbert. From our studios come special guests and netball commentary, exclusively on YouTube.
Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome again to edition 2 of the relaunch of the 3 Feet Radio Show. Joining me in the studio is Luke Herbert, my co-host. G'day, Luke. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm doing very well, thank you. And I've been looking forward to having today's guest on our show for a long time, and it's certainly nice to reconnect with him. So, who are we talking with today, Ben?
Today we're talking with Aditya Bee from the Netball and Education Trust. You may previously know him having been involved with the Netball Development Trust. Hi, Aditya. Good to speak with you again.
Yeah, pleasure to be back on the show after such a long time. Great to hear both of you again.
Yeah, it's great to be talking with you as well. Things have changed a bit since we last spoke with you. You're now involved with something I believe called the Netball and Education Trust.
Yes, absolutely. It's a small organization that concentrates on promoting netball within India, as opposed to a traveling program that goes overseas. Yes.
Yeah, and just generally, how is the development side of the organisation going, and what sort of a role do you think it plays in helping to contribute towards netball development in India?
Well, it's still early days. It's not been even a year since we've really got the program going out here. As we spoke last time, we face a lot of issues with cooperation from the federation. As you would probably imagine, it's not easy to get the federation on board. So we're still working on that out here in India, but otherwise things are going well. We work with schools mostly, directly with schools. So we sort of bypass the federation, if you will. That's the only reason why we've been successful so far, actually.
Well, just then moving on to where you have had some success, can you tell us how preparations are going for the 2014 edition of the One Nation Netball Cup?
Sure. We'll be almost ready, actually. It's only about 2 weeks away. We have 10 teams this year coming in from 4 states across India. We could have actually had more, but unfortunately we only had 10. I was hoping for about 12, but we decided in the end to stick down to 12, just limit it to 10 teams rather than 12. We've got girls teams as well as mixed teams. Now, these are not just teams from any school, or we actually sort of filter them through. They're probably schools that are involved in netball development across the country. And I could probably explain more about it. But preparation-wise, at the moment, we are probably 90% complete, really. We don't have much more to do. We have our venue set up. We have our partners set up. And even the fixtures and the pools and everything have already been prepared. So we're pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, that's great news, Aditya. If I was reading correctly recently, I saw that you've restricted it to players aged under 16. Why have you done that?
Yes. All right. There's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, I want to catch them young, so we get the youngest possible players. There's no need to get older players playing because they anyway play for the federation and in the federation program. The second reason why I have limited, or rather we have limited to under 16 is a lot of players in this country, as I believe in other countries except of course Australia and New Zealand, are actually over age and misrepresent their age. So we're trying to get real under 16s playing for us as opposed to say someone who's 20 and is pretending to be 16, which is a major issue with many sports in this country, of course, including netball.
What's the thinking behind having mixed teams as opposed to straight all men or all girls teams in the tournament?
All right. Now that sort of strikes out at a lot of cultural and, there's a lot of gender divisions within a society like India due to cultural impact mostly. We try to break them down using sport, get girls and boys playing together. There's actually no other tournament in the country that has mixed teams playing. And even though this year we have 4 all-girls teams, we chose to keep them in the main draw and not have 2 categories of teams. So what we're doing this year is we've instituted a new award, which is called the Girl Power Award, which goes to the best overall girls team. So the girls team may actually win the trophy, but on top of it, as a bonus, they get the Girl Power Award as well. And this Girl Power Award has been sort of being presented away by Women Win, which is a very great organization that works out of Amsterdam and New York. promoting women's sport around the world. Women Win is our partner for this year's edition of the One Nation.
So obviously, then you're keeping the girls in that same division. It's great because it therefore means, as you're saying, it sort of breaks down those social barriers and other things that are prevalent in India that probably we don't see here in Australia and New Zealand.
Absolutely. It's really important because what happens is that you get this segregation, or if you make division right out from the very outset, from the first year of one's life. So girls and boys do not play together, and in fact they take part in activities completely apart throughout their lives. We try to break that down really and get everybody to play together as a team. So the One Nation will continue to be a mixed teams tournament. However, you are welcome, or one is welcome, to send in an all-girls team, not an all-boys team, but an all-girls team to take part in the main draw. And you're still a part of the whole system, but we're not having categories because the national championships actually has girls and boys divisions separately, obviously, but no mixed teams categories so far.
Broadly speaking, away from the work you've been doing, how is the sport of netball's development going in India?
Every time both of you ask me this question, I don't have very much to reply apart from the fact that we're trying our hardest and things are pretty tough out here. I think that goes out very much for all sport in India. India is not a sporting country, so it's a bit of a force feed at the moment. We're trying to get things moving. However, there's a lot of opposition. We had the Commonwealth Games 4 years back. Even then it didn't kickstart netball in this country. Netball's been being played here for 30 years now, but it's still not a mainstream sport. It's still perceived as being an all-girls sport and a very, very fringe sport. So if you go out and say, just randomly sample 100 people and ask them the question whether they know of a sport such as netball, probably 99 will tell you they haven't even ever heard of it. It doesn't make the news. There's no exposure whatsoever. The Indian national team doesn't travel overseas, and the game is not growing in the country. So what we're doing is we're just going down to the grassroots and introducing the sport at schools in the hope that children get to play the sport and perhaps it grows in the next generation, because frankly speaking, it will take at least 5 years for anything to be tangible of what we're doing today, because it's going to take a long, long time to break down this whole system here.
Very much it's in a similar predicament, Aditya, with netball in India to what they have in America, but obviously one of your colleagues and a colleague of ours too, Sonia Ottaway, is doing great work in America, and they've had exponential growth just purely in the school system. So hopefully give it 5 years like you're saying, and the same thing will be happening in India.
Absolutely. I think there's a point when things start tipping, basically a tipping point. So you got to keep chipping away at it, and the schools are the link, because if you don't get the game played at the school level, it never really goes upwards. I think America is a different context in the fact that the NBA is a very, very popular game. The netball basically was a part of the basketball system and initially. So if NBA is popular, then perhaps there is always a chance that netball will catch on. But in India, even basketball is not all that popular. So we're really, really trying to just get the game out there, get girls and boys to play it and popularize it, and hope that that's the next step to take things forward. But as I said earlier, the federation is actually not an assistance, but rather a stumbling block for us.
I think I know what you're going to answer this question as saying that you don't have any plans to take teams overseas, but do you have any teams that come from overseas to play in the One Nation Netball Cup, or do any of the teams you raise travel overseas?
Well, we've always been open for teams from other countries to come and play at the One Nation, and perhaps neighboring countries like Sri Lanka and Nepal and Pakistan and Bangladesh would perhaps in the coming editions come and play. But I don't think our standard matches anyone, say, any school coming in from Australia or England or New Zealand playing with us, because it wouldn't really be a fair game. So we've got to build up our quality before we can start thinking about spreading it further out. Even the standard in Sri Lanka is way, way above ours. For example, they're being champions in the Asian region a couple of times. But it's still early days. It's the second edition, and I see things growing at a steady pace. And perhaps, yes, a team from Nepal or Pakistan or any of the other neighboring countries could come and join us very soon.
You talk about Sri Lanka, Aditya. It's quite interesting. Their goal shooter, Shivalingam, she actually has benefited from some coaching, and she's actually played in the State League in Western Australia, over here in Australia. And Netball Australia have actually gone and been involved in some development stuff in Sri Lanka. So hopefully, if Netball Australia are hearing this, they might want to be involved in India in the future.
Actually, Netball Australia is involved in India. They have a development program running with our partners, the NAS Foundation.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, it's early days here as well for them, but they've been doing an excellent job of the past. Well, the program started about 5 years ago through ASOP, which is the Australian Sports Outreach Program. That 5-year program actually finishes this year, and the step forward is a bit vague at the moment for Netball Australia because they were working under the umbrella of ASOP. So we wait to see what the next step is for Netball Australia to take the game forward in India. But they are working here. They actually do promote the sport through NAS Foundation, and they do support the program that runs through here, the development.
And if you were to speak to the likes of Netball New Zealand or Netball Australia for continued support, would you ask them to continue providing support through that program, or would there be other means you would be looking at gaining support for what you're doing?
I think the continuance of a program is much more important than starting a new one because there's so many programs being started and stopped all the time. So it's better to have a program that continues for at least a medium to long term. So Netball Australia has already been sending a lot of trainers over in the past 3 to 4 years, and I hope that they continue to do so. And they aren't working with the federation, but they're working with the NAS Foundation, and that's as good as that. And I hope that continues. There are lots of things to be done, and their program is very efficient and very modern, really, compared to what we experience and we practice here in India, which is really very basic.
And just back on the One Nation tournament too, Aditya, is there anything from last year that you've learnt from that you've helped to make this, hopefully the tournament this year be better in terms of organisation and that sort of thing, or?
Yes, of course, there's always a learning curve. We thought that the response would be a little bit more professional last time around, but then we've come to realize that things are always last minute out here. So even though we send out a notice to teams to come and join us and to register three months in advance and prepare everything way in advance, nothing actually happens till the last 2 weeks. That's a bit of an irritant at times because both of us, me and Vivek, who are the managing committee, actually travel a lot and are very committed to other development initiatives. So we can't spend all that time chasing up people. But I hope eventually that will change. This year we learned in the sense we've become a bit more efficient. And we know where and when to draw the line and not go further. Because others, we tend to be a bit too ambitious and we realize that the market, so to speak, quote unquote, is not really ready for this.
So, in other words, last year you had teams showed up that hadn't previously registered for the event, and you've just accepted that as a part of what's going to happen. But if too many teams, say, show up on the day, you just have to turn some of them away?
Yes, that's a possibility. Though what usually happens is that teams, can contact us once we've already prepared the fixtures, once the pools are ready, once we've done seedings. Because we try to have a very even tournament. We get, we actually seed the teams into pools. So we've got 2 stronger teams, 2 medium teams, and a weak team in each pool, rather than just have it's probably arranged so that there's an interesting competition going to happen. It's not just first come, first served. There's a lot of things that they need to learn as well, and we learn with them as we go along. This year, I hope we just have a very efficient tournament, a tournament that just is delivered on time and has the desired result in the fact that everybody gets to play, which is more important than the eventual result as who wins the tournament. Let's see how it goes. I think it's going to be a good tournament, to be honest with you.
So you've had pretty good sort of commercial interest in that sort of thing by the sounds of it, Aditya, and just general interest. It's building quite well.
We get a lot of, as we've had the tournament now, the second year, it's still in the national capital, and I want to take it further out to lesser developed parts of the country. And the problem in the capital is that nobody is interested in sports news. We've got the general elections out here at the moment, and all the news is focused towards politics. So nobody's really bothering about any sport, except, of course, the cricket league, which is on at the moment.
Yeah, the IPL, yep.
Yeah, the IPL. So this is a very, very fringe tournament. So nobody's even noticing it in the media, but we're trying. We've actually got 2 journalists coming on board this year who've promised that they'll actually focus on the tournament and try to write about it. So let's hope you get a professional angle on it this time.
That'd be great if you can get some professional coverage online or even in print, Aditya, because the more eyes you have reading about that, the more hopefully people will be interested in not just your tournament but netball in India too.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a different angle also. We get to play, and the development, it's a sort of a pyramid system, while everyone else is just the developing sport. But we have a social angle here as well, very much so because NAR Foundation is part of the initiative. So yes, there's a second purpose to why we do the One Nation, which is actually getting empowering girls through sport, and also it's also a spirit of inclusion in the sense that boys and girls get to play together. If we can tell that story through to the media as well as the sports story, and both carry together, there's nothing like it. That would be an amazing fallout.
All right then, Aditya, thanks very much for your time. It was great to have a chat and talk about the upcoming One Nation Netball Cup and also the Netball and Education Trust, and also how things are going generally with netball in India too. Gave us a great insight. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to the 3 Feet Radio Show with Ben Carbonaro and Luke Herbert. Tune in next time for more special guests and netball commentary exclusively on YouTube.